Hi, I'm Upstart Arts Michelle Denise Norton. Welcome to the first installment of our three-part radio play version of Something Fresh, a fun PG Wodehouse novel adapted by me. You will be hearing some familiar voices as well as some new ones. This has been a lot of fun to put together. It has taken us a year, and finally, we are ready for the audience. So we appreciate your being here. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your time. Please enjoy the show and come back next Saturday to hear part two.
The sunshine of a fair spring morning fell graciously on London town. Out in Piccadilly, its heartening warmth seemed to infuse into traffic and pedestrians alike a novel jauntiness, so that bus drivers jested, and even the lips of chauffeurs uncurled into not unkindly smiles. Policemen whistled at their posts, clerks on their way to work. Beggars approached the task of trying to persuade perfect strangers to bear the burden of their maintenance with that optimistic vim which makes all the difference. It was one of those happy mornings. At 9 o'clock, precisely, the door of number 7 Arundel Street, Leicester Square, opened, and Ashe Marsdon stepped out.
Good morning, cabmen, waiters, chambermaids, street cleaners, children, cats. Spring. How many springs have I wasted?
Meet Joan Valentine, Ashe's across-the-way neighbor and exercise critic.
Darn!
Hey, love, your breakfast.
Just a minute.
What you doing today? More of those larceny exercises?
Larson exercises, Mrs. Bell, invented and perfected by Lieutenant Larson, stalwart of the Swedish army, and no, never again, not on this or any balcony.
Well, remember, rent's due, so keep at it, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Well, hello, Mr. Gridley Quayle of the British Pluck Library. How will you add to my failures this breezy spring day? Wand of Death? What's a Wand of Death? What do you have in your hand, Mr. Gridley Quayle?
There came a knock at the door.
Oh, I'm afraid I'm disturbing you.
Oh, no, not at all. No, oh no, nope.
I wanted to apologize for my abominable rudeness in laughing at you just now. It was idiotic of me, and I don't know why I did it. I'm sorry.
What is a Wand of Death?
I beg your pardon?
A Wand of Death?
I don't understand.
I suppose you think I'm mad.
Certainly.
Well, I should have been if you hadn't come in.
Why was that?
I was trying to write a detective story.
I was wondering whether you were a writer.
Do you write?
Yes. Do you ever read Home Gossip?
Never.
You are quite right to speak in that thankful tone. It's a horrid little paper, all brown paper patterns and advice to the lovelorn, and puzzles. I do a short story for it every week, under various names. A duke or an earl goes with each story. I loathe it intensely.
I'm sorry for your troubles, but we are wandering from the point. What is the Wand of Death?
A wand of death?
A Wand of Death.
Why, of course. It's the sacred ebony stick stolen from the Indian temple, which is supposed to bring death to whoever possesses it. The hero gets hold of it, and the priests dog him and send him threatening messages. What else could it be?
This is genius.
Oh, no.
Absolute genius. I see it all. The hero calls in Gridley Quayle, and that patronizing ass by the aid of a series of wicked coincidences, solves the mystery. And there am I with another month's work done.
Are you the author of Gridley Quayle?
Don't tell me you read him.
I do not read him, but he's published by the same firm that publishes Home Gossip, and I can't help seeing his cover sometimes while I'm waiting in the waiting room to see the editress.
Does Mammoth publish you too? Why, we are comrades in misfortune, fellow serfs. We should be friends. Shall we be friends?
I should be delighted.
We'll shake hands, sit down, and talk about ourselves a little.
But I'm keeping you from your work.
An errand of mercy. Please sit down. Shall we introduce ourselves? Or did Mrs. Bell tell you my name? By the way, you have not been here long, have you?
I took my room day before yesterday. But your name, if you are the author of Gridley Quayle, is Felix Clovely, isn't it?
Good heavens, no. Surely you don't think anyone's name could really be Felix Clovely. That is only the cloak under which I hide my shame. My real name is Marsdon, Ashe Marsdon. And yours?
Valentine, Joan Valentine.
Will you tell me the story of your life, or shall I tell mine first?
I don't know that I have any particular story. I am an American.
Not American.
Why not?
Because it is too extraordinary, too much like a Gridley Quayle coincidence. I am an American.
Well, so are a good many other people.
You missed the point. You're not only fellow serfs, we are fellow exiles. You can't round the thing off by telling me you were born in Hailing, Massachusetts, I suppose.
I was born in New York.
Surely not. I didn't know anybody was.
Why Hailing, Massachusetts?
That was where I was born.
I'm afraid I never heard of it.
Strange. I know your hometown quite well, but I've not yet made my birthplace famous. In fact, I doubt whether I shall ever. I'm beginning to realize that I am one of the failures.
How old are you?
26.
You are only 26 and you call yourself a failure? I think that is a shameful thing to say.
What will you call a man of 26 whose only means of making a living was writing the Gridley Quayle stories? An empire builder?
How do you know it's your only means of making a living? Why don't you try something new?
Such as?
How should I know? Anything that comes along. Good gracious, Mr. Marsing. Here you are in the biggest city of the world, with chances for adventure simply shrieking to you on every side.
I must be deaf. The only thing I have heard shrieking to me on every side has been Mrs. Bell for the week's rent.
Read the papers. Read the advertisement columns. I'm sure you will find something sooner or later. Don't get into a groove. Be an adventurer. Snatch at the next chance, whatever it is.
Continue. Proceed. You're stimulating me.
But why should you want a girl like me to stimulate you? Surely not London is enough to do it without my help. You can always find something new, surely. Listen, Mr. Marsden, I was thrown on my own resources about 5 years ago. Never mind how. Since then, I have worked in a shop, done typewriting, been on the stage, had a position as a governess, been a lady's maid.
A what? A lady's maid?
Why not? It was all an experience, and I can assure you I would much rather be a lady's maid than a governess.
I think I know what you mean. I was a private tutor once. I suppose a governess is the female equivalent? Was it fun being a lady's maid?
It was pretty good fun, and it gave me the opportunity of studying aristocracy in its native haunts, which has made me the gossip's established authority on dukes and earls.
You were perfectly splendid.
Splendid?
I mean, you have such pluck.
Oh well, I keep on trying. I'm 23 and I haven't achieved anything much yet, but I certainly don't feel like sitting back and calling myself a failure.
All right, I've got it.
I meant you to. I hope I haven't bored you with my autobiography, Mr. Marsden, but I'm not setting myself up as a shining example. But I do like action and hate stagnation.
You are absolutely wonderful. You were a human correspondence course in efficiency. One of those ones you see advertised in the back pages of the magazines, beginning, "Young man, are you earning enough?" with a picture showing the deadbeat gazing wistfully at the boss's chair. He would galvanize a jellyfish.
If I have really stimulated you...
I think that was another slam. Well, I deserve it. Yes, you have stimulated me. I feel like a new man. It's queer that you should have come to me right on top of everything else. I don't remember when I have felt so restless and discontented as this morning.
It's the spring.
I suppose it is. I feel like doing something big and adventurous.
Well, do it then. You have a morning post on the table. Have you read it yet?
I glanced at it.
But you haven't read the advertisement pages. Read them. They may contain just the opening you want.
Well, I'll do it. But my experience of advertisement pages is that they are monopolized by philanthropists who want to lend you any sum from 10 to 100,000 pounds on your note of hand only. However, I will scan them.
Goodbye, Miss Marsdon. You've got your detective story to write, and I have to think out something with a duke in it by tonight. So I must be going. We have traveled a good way from the point where we started, but I may as well go back to it before I leave you. I'm sorry I laughed at you this morning.
I'm not. Come and laugh at me whenever you feel like it. I like being laughed at. Why, when I started my morning exercises, half of London used to come and roll about the sidewalks in convulsions. I'm not an attraction any longer, and it makes me feel lonesome. There are 29 of those Larson exercises, and you only saw part of the first. You have done so much for me that if I can be of any use to you in helping you greet the day with a smile, I shall be only too proud. Exercise 6 is a surefire mirth provoker. I'll start with it tomorrow morning. I can also recommend exercise 11. Scream. Don't miss it.
Very well. Well, goodbye for the present.
Goodbye.
And now, in a bedroom in a much, much more upscale hotel, the Honorable Frederick Threepwood sat in bed, with his knees drawn up to his chin, and glared at the day with the glare of mental anguish. He had very little mind, but what he had was suffering.
Oh, dash it. And I was feeling so dashed happy. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, I say, is that you, Dickie?
Who is that?
This is Freddie Threepwood. I say, Dickie on top. I want to see you about something devilishly important. Will you be in at 12?
Certainly. What's the trouble?
I can't explain over the wire, but it's due serious.
Very well. Oh, by the way, Freddie, congratulations on the engagement.
Thanks. Oh man, thanks very much. And so on. But you won't forget to be in at 12, will you? Goodbye.
Are you only just getting up, Frederick?
Hello, Governor. Good morning. I shan't be 2 ticks now.
You should have been out and about 2 hours ago. The day is glorious.
Shan't be more than a minute, Governor, now. Just gotta have a tub and then chuck on a few clothes.
Meet Lord Emsworth. Like many fathers in his rank of life, the Earl of Emsworth had suffered much through the problem of what to do with the younger sons. It is useless to try to gloss over the fact. In the aristocratic families of Great Britain, the younger son is not required.
His first morning up in London and back to his old layabout self. Freddie had best stay out of trouble. None of that betting or fake mustaches or pouring ink on deans.
La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da-da-da-da-da.
That's right. The boy's about to be married. That'll settle him down. Nice girl, too. American, rich. Hurry up, Freddie.
By the way, Governor, I met an old pal of mine last night and asked him down to Blandings this week. That's all right, isn't it? He's a man named Emerson, an American. He knows Aline quite well, he says. Has known her since she was a kid.
I do not remember any friend of yours named Emerson.
Well, as a matter of fact, I met him last night for the first time, but it's all right. He's a good chap, don't you know? And all that sort of rot.
Certainly let him come if he wishes.
Thanks, Governor. Doing anything special this morning, Governor? I rather thought of getting a bit of breakfast and then strolling around a bit. Have you had breakfast?
2 hours ago. I trust that in the course of your strolling, you will find time to call at Mr. Peters and see Aline. I shall be going there directly after lunch. Mr. Peters wishes to show me his collection of, I think scarabs was the word he used.
Oh, I'll looking all right. Don't you worry. And if I don't, I'll call the old boy up on the phone and pass the time of day. Well, I'd rather think I'll be popping off and getting that bit of breakfast. What?
And, well, don't forget about your fiancée.
Father and son passed out and down into the main lobby of the hotel, where they parted. Freddie to his bit of breakfast, his father to potter about the streets and kill time until luncheon. London was always a trial to the Earl of Emsworth. His heart was in the country, and the city held no fascination for him.
Well, 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 whom have we here? The dashing bridegroom-to-be and no other. The prodigal son, by George, creeping back into the fold after all this weary time. It seems years since I saw you, Freddie. The old governor put his foot down, didn't he? And stopped the funds. Damn shame. I take it that things have loosened up a bit since the engagement was announced, eh?
Well, as a matter of fact, Dickie, old top, not so that you can notice it, don't you know? Things are still pretty much the same. Managed to get away from Blandings for a night, 'cause the governor had come to London, but I've got to go back with him over the 3 o'clock train. And as for money, I can't get a quid out of him. As a matter of fact, I'm in the deuce of a hole, and that's why I've come to you. I don't want to make a touch, you know. It isn't that. As a matter of fact, I managed to raise 500 of the best this morning. That ought to be enough.
Depends on what you want for it.
Did you read about old Percy in the papers? The case, you know?
Percy.
Lord Stockheath, you know?
Oh, the Stockheath breach of promise case. I did more than that. I was in court all 3 days. Is he a pal of yours? A cousin, eh? I wish you had seen him in the witness box with Jellicoe Smith cross-examining him. The funniest thing I ever heard. And his letters to the girl. They read them out in court. And of all the...
Don't, old
Oh,
man. Dickie old top, please. I know all about it. I read the reports. They made poor old Percy look like an absolute ass.
well, nature had done that already, but I'm bound to say they improved on nature's work. I should think your cousin Percy must have felt like a plucked chicken.
Dickie, old man, I wish you wouldn't talk like that. It makes me feel ill.
Why is he such a pal of yours as all that?
It's not that. It's the fact is, Dickie, old top, I'm exactly in the same belly hole as poor old Percy was myself.
What? You have been sued for breach of promise?
Not absolutely that yet. Look here, I'll tell you the whole thing. Do you remember a show at the Piccadilly about a year ago called The Baby Doll? There was a girl in the chorus.
Several. I remember noticing.
No, I mean one particular girl. A girl called Joan Valentine. The rotten part is I've never met her.
Pull yourself together, Freddie. What exactly is the trouble?
Well, don't you see? I used to go to the show every other night and I fell frightfully in love with this girl.
Without having met her?
Yes. You see, I was rather an ass in those days.
No, no.
I must have been, or I shouldn't have been such an ass, don't you know? Well, as I was saying, I used to write this girl letters saying how much I was in love with her and
Specifically proposing marriage?
can't remember. I expect I did. I was awfully in love.
How was that if you never met her?
She wouldn't meet me. She wouldn't even come out to luncheon. She didn't even answer my letters. Just sent word down by the Johnny at the stage door and then
What then?
poetry.
You wrote her poetry?
Yards of it, old boy. Yards of it. You see the frightful hole I'm in? This girl is bound to have kept the letters. I don't remember whether I actually proposed to her or not. But anyway, she's got enough material to make it worthwhile to have a dash at an action. Especially after poor old Percy has just got soaked for such a pile of money and made breach of promise cases the fashion, so to speak. And now the announcement of my engagement is out. She's starting to get busy. Probably she's been waiting for something of the sort. Don't you see? That's all the cards are in her hands. We couldn't afford to let the thing come into court. That poetry would dish my marriage for certainty. I'd have to emigrate or something. Goodness knows what would happen at home. My old governor would murder me. So you see what a frightful hole I'm in, don't you, Dickie, old man?
And what do you want me to do?
Why, to get a hold of this girl and get back the letters. Don't you see? I can't do it myself. Cooped up miles away in the country. And besides, I shouldn't know how to handle a thing like that. Needs a chappie with a lot of sense and a persuasive sort of way with him.
Well, thanks for the compliment, Freddie. But I should imagine that something a little more solid than a persuasive way would be required in a case like this. You said something a while back about £500?
Here it is, old man. In notes. I brought it on purpose. Will you really take the thing on? Do you think you can work it for 500?
I can have a try.
That's absolutely topping of you, old man. Then I'll leave the whole thing to you. Write me the moment you have done anything, won't you? Goodbye, old top, and thanks ever so much.
£500.
The Earl of Emsworth stood in the doorway of the Senior Conservative Club's vast dining room and beamed with a vague sweetness on the 200 or so senior conservatives who, with much clattering of knives and forks, were keeping body and soul together by means of the coffee room luncheon. Nobody appeared to notice him. He so seldom came to London these days that he was practically a stranger in the club. And in any case, your senior conservative, when at lunch, has little leisure for observing anything not immediately on the table in front of him. To attract attention in the dining room of the Senior Conservative Club between the hours of 1 and 2:30, you have to be a mutton chop, not an earl.
A table, your lordship. Oh, this way, your lordship. Don't often see your lordship in the club.
No, Adams, I seldom visit London nowadays. London does not attract me. The country, the fields, the woods, the birds. What was I saying, Adams?
The birds, your lordship.
Birds. What birds? What about birds?
You were speaking of the attractions of life in the country, your lordship. You included the birds in your remarks.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yes, to be sure. Do you ever go to the country, Adams?
Generally to the seashore, your lordship, when I take my annual vacation.
What were you saying, Adams?
I said that I generally went to the seashore, your lordship.
When?
For my annual vacation, your lordship.
Your what?
My annual vacation, your lordship.
What about it? Oh, Adams, who is the gentleman over by the window? The gentleman in the brown suit?
That is Mr. Simmons, your lordship. He joined us last year.
I never saw a man take such large mouthfuls. Did you ever see a man take such large mouthfuls, Adams? That man is digging his grave with his teeth. Digging his grave with his teeth, Adams. Do you take large mouthfuls, Adams?
No, your lordship.
Quite right. Very sensible of you, Adams. What was I saying, Adams?
About my not taking large mouthfuls, your lordship.
Quite right. Quite right. Never take large mouthfuls. Adams, never gobble. Have you any children, Adams?
2, your lordship.
I hope you teach them not to gobble. They pay for it in later life. Americans gobble when young and ruin their digestions. My American friend, Mr. Peters, suffers terribly from indigestion.
If you will pardon the liberty, your lordship, I saw it in the paper.
About Mr. Peters' indigestion?
About Miss Peters, your lordship, and the Honorable Frederick. May I be permitted to offer my congratulations?
Oh, yes, the engagement. Yes, to be sure. Yes, very satisfactory in every respect. High time he settled down and got a little sense. I put it to him straight. I cut off his allowance and made him stay at home. That made him think, lazy young devil. So, you saw the news of the engagement in the paper, did you, Adams?
Yes, your lordship, in the mail. It had quite a long piece about it, and the Honorable Frederick's photograph and the young ladies were in the Mirror. Mrs. Adams put them out and put them in an album, knowing that your lordship was a member of ours. If I may say so, your lordship, a beautiful young lady.
Devilish attractive, Adams, and devilish rich. Mr. Peters is a millionaire, Adams.
So I read in the paper, your lordship.
Damn, they all seem to be millionaires in America. Wish I knew how they managed it. Honestly, I hope. Mr. Peters is an honest man, but his digestion is bad. He used to bolt his food. You don't bolt your food, I hope, Adams.
No, your lordship, I am most careful.
The late Mr. Gladstone used to chew each mouthful 33 times. Deuce good notion if you aren't in a hurry. What cheese would you recommend, Adams?
The gentlemen are speaking well of the Gorgonzola.
All right, bring me some. You know, Adams, what I admire about Americans is their resource. Mr. Peters tells me that as a boy of 11, he earned $200 a week selling mint to saloon keepers, as they call publicans over there. Why they want mint, I cannot recollect. Mr. Peters explained the reason to me, and it seemed highly plausible at the time, but I have forgotten it. Possibly for mint sauce. It impressed me, Adams. $200 is 50 pounds. I never earned 50 pounds a week when I was a boy of 11. In fact, I don't think I ever earned 50 pounds a week. His story impressed me, Adams. Every man ought to have an earning capacity. I was so struck with what he told me that I began to paint.
Landscapes, your lordship?
Furniture. It is unlikely that I shall ever be compelled to paint furniture for a living, but it is a consolation to me to feel that I could do so if it called on There is a fascination about painting furniture, Adams. I have painted the whole of my bedroom at Blandings and am now engaged on the museum. You would be surprised at the fascination of it. It suddenly came back to me the other day that I had been inwardly longing to mess about with paints and things since I was a boy. They stopped me when I was a boy. Tell me, Adams, have I eaten my cheese?
Not yet, your lordship. I was about to send the waiter for it.
Never mind. Tell him to bring the bill instead. I remember that I have an appointment. I must not be late.
Shall I take the fork, your lordship?
The fork?
Your lordship has inadvertently put a fork in your coat pocket.
Adams, I'm getting absent-minded. Have you ever noticed any traces of absent-mindedness in me before?
Oh, no, your lordship.
Well, it's deuced peculiar. I have no recollection whatsoever of placing that fork in my pocket. Adams, I want a taxicab.
The hall porter will whistle one for you, your lordship.
So he will, by George, so he will. Good day, Adams.
Good day, your lordship. Oh, what a nut.
As Lord Emsworth wafts through the sunlit streets in his taxicab, reflecting that a really charming girl, not in the chorus of any West End theater, a girl with plenty of money and excellent breeding, had, in a moment doubtless of mental aberration, become engaged to be married to the Honorable Freddie, let us visit the past of the not so charming father of that really charming girl. 5 years before, a nervous breakdown had sent Mr. Peters to a New York specialist. The specialist had grown rich on similar cases, and his advice was always the same. He insisted on Mr. Peters taking up a hobby.
What sort of hobby?
Now, my hobby is the collecting of scarabs. Why should you not collect scarabs?
Because I shouldn't know it if you brought it to me on a plate. What are scarabs?
Scarabs, the Egyptian hieroglyphs?
And what are Egyptian hieroglyphs?
A scarab, derived from the Latin scarabaeus, is literally a beetle.
I will not collect beetles. They give me the willies.
Scarabs are Egyptian symbols in the form of beetles. The most common form of scarab is in the shape of a ring. Scarabs were used for seals. They were also employed as beads or ornaments. Some scarabaei bear inscriptions having reference to places, as, for instance, Memphis is mighty forever.
Have you got one like that?
Like what?
A scarab boosting Memphis. It's my hometown.
I think it possible that some other Memphis was alluded to.
There isn't any other except the one in Tennessee.
Perhaps you would care to glance at my collection. It is in the next room.
How long would it take me to get together that number of the things?
How long? To make a collection as large as mine? Years, Mr. Peters. Oh, many, many years.
I'll bet you $1,000 I'll do it in 6 months.
And for a year, Mr. Peters brought to the collecting of scarabs the same furious energy which had given him so many dollars and so much indigestion. He went after scarabs like a dog after rats. He scooped in scarabs from the 4 corners of the earth until he found himself possessed of what, purely as regarded quantity, was a record collection. Then he called in an expert.
Most of these are practically valueless. If you're thinking of making a collection that will have any value in the eyes of archaeologists, I should advise you to throw them away. The remaining 12 are Good.
How do you mean good? Why is one of these things valuable and another so much punk? They all look alike to me.
And then the expert talked to Mr. Peters for nearly 2 hours about the New Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, Osiris, Ammon, Mut, Bubastis, dynasties, Cheops, the Hyksos kings, cylinders, bezels, Amenephis III, Queen Taia, the Princess Gelukippa of Mitanni, the Lake of Zaruki, Naucratis, and the Book of the Dead. That talk changed J. Preston Peters from a supercilious scooper-upper of random scarabs to what might be called a genuine scarab fan. It does not matter what a man collects. If nature has given him the collector's mind, he will become a fanatic on the subject of whatever collection he sets out to make. Gradually, he came to love his scarabs, with that love surpassing the love of women, which only collectors know. He became an expert on those curious relics of a dead civilization. He treasured each individual scarab in his collection as a miser treasures gold. And now back to the present with Lord Emsworth's arrival.
My dear Mr. Peters, I trust I'm not unpunctual. I've been lunching at my club.
I'd have asked you to lunch here, but you know how it is with me. I promised the doctor I'll give those nuts and grasses of his a fair trial, and I can do it pretty well when I'm alone with Aline. But to have to sit by and see somebody else eating real food would be trying me too high.
Too bad.
These are my scarabs.
And then Mr. Peters talked about the New Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, Osiris, Amun, Mut, Bubastis, dynasties, Cheops, the Hyksos kings, cylinders, bezels, Amenephis III, Queen Taia, the Princess Gelukippa of Mitanni, the Lake of Zaruki, Naucratis, and the Book of the Dead.
Take a look at this, Lord Emsworth.
Ah.
A Cheops of the 4th dynasty.
I beg your pardon?
A Cheops of the 4th dynasty.
Dear me, a Cheops.
Of the 4th dynasty.
Bless my soul, the 4th dynasty.
What do you think of that, eh?
If you please, sir, Mr. Threepwood wishes to speak with you on the telephone.
Excuse me for one moment.
Certainly. Certainly, by all means. Oh, look, a flower seller. Flowers in London. Will the gardener remember what I told him to do about the hydrangeas? Can he ever be trusted? What's this? Nothing of importance.
At a corner table at Simpson's restaurant in the Strand. There are all sorts of restaurants in London, from the restaurant which makes you fancy you are in Paris to the restaurant which makes you wish you were. There are palaces in Piccadilly, quaint lethal chambers in Soho, and strange food factories in Oxford Street and Tottenham Court Road. There are restaurants which specialize in ptomaine and restaurants which specialize in sinister vegetable messes. But there is only one Simpson's. Simpson's in the Strand is unique. Here, if he wishes, the Briton may, for the small sum of $50, stupefy himself with food. The god of fatted plenty has the place under his protection. Its keynote is solid comfort.
The girl you ought to marry is Joan Valentine.
The girl I am going to marry is Aline Peters.
I know you saw this in the papers, George. Read it again.
Miss Aline Peters, who is to marry the Honorable Frederick Threepwood in June. The Honorable Frederick Threepwood, who is to marry Miss Aline Peters in June. He looks an ass.
Let me finish that for you. Forthcoming international wedding. Son of Earl of Emsworth to marry American heiress.
You mustn't believe everything you see in the papers. What are the stout children in the one-piece bathing suits supposed to be doing in the corners of the photos?
Those are cupids, George, aiming at us with their little bows. A pretty and original idea.
Why cupids?
Cupid is the god of love.
What has the god of love got to do with it?
You're simply trying to make me angry, and I call it very mean of you. You know perfectly well how fatal it is to get angry at meals. It was eating while he was in a bad temper that ruined Father's digestion. George, that nice fat carver is wheeling his truck this way. Flag him and make him give me some more of that mutton.
This is England. This restaurant, I mean. You don't need to go any further. Just take a good look at this place, and you have seen the whole country and can go home again. You may judge a country by its meals. A people with imagination will eat with imagination. Look at the French. Look at ourselves. The Englishman loathes imagination. He goes to a place like this and says, "Don't bother me to think. Here's $50. Give me food, any sort of food, until I tell you to stop." And that's the principle on which he lives his life. Give me anything, and don't bother me. That's his motto.
If that was meant to apply to Freddie and me, I think you're very rude. Do you mean that any girl would have done for him, so long as it was a girl?
I don't know. Do you see that fellow in the gray suit? I think he has been sleeping in it, at the table on your right. Look at the stodgy face. See the glassy eye. If that man sandbagged your Freddie and tied him up somewhere and turned up at the church instead of him, can you honestly tell me you would know the difference? Come now, wouldn't you simply say, "Why, Freddie, how natural you look," and go through the ceremony without a suspicion?
He isn't a bit like Freddie.
My dear girl, there isn't a man in this restaurant under the age of 30 who isn't just like Freddie. All Englishmen look exactly alike, talk exactly alike, and think exactly alike.
And you oughtn't to speak of him as Freddie. You don't know him.
Yes, I do. And what is more, he expressly asked me to call him Freddie. Oh, dash it, old top, don't keep on calling me Threepwood. Freddie to pals. Those were his very words.
George, you're making this up.
Not at all. We met last night at the National Sporting Club. Corky Jones was going 20 rounds with Eddie Flynn. I offered to give 3-1 on Eddie. Freddie, who was sitting next to me, took me in fivers. And if you want any further proof of your young man's pinheadedness, mark that. A child could have seen that Eddie had him going. Eddie comes from Pittsburgh. God bless it, my own hometown.
Did your Eddie win?
You don't listen. I told you he was from Pittsburgh. And afterward, Threepwood chummed up with me and told me that to real pals like me, he was Freddie. I was a real pal, as I understood it, because I would have to wait for my money. The fact was, he explained, his old governor had cut off his bally allowance.
You're trying to poison my mind against him, and I don't think it's very nice of you, George.
What do you mean, poison your mind? I'm not poisoning your mind. I'm simply telling you a few things about him. You know perfectly well that you don't love him, and that you aren't going to marry him, and that you are going to marry me.
How do you know that I don't love my Freddie?
If you can look me straight in the eyes and tell me you do, I will drop the whole thing and put on a little page's dress and carry your train up the aisle. Now then.
And all the while you're talking, you're letting my carver get away.
Hey! Enjoy yourself.
So I do, George. So I do. What excellent meat they have in England.
It all comes from America. And anyway, can't you be a bit more spiritual? I don't want to sit here discussing food products.
If you were in my position, George, you wouldn't want to talk about anything else. It's doing him a world of good, poor dear, but there are times when I'm sorry Father ever started this food reform thing. You don't know what it means for a healthy young girl to try and support life on grass and nuts.
And why should you? I'll tell you what it is, Aline. You are perfectly absurd about your father. I don't want to say anything against him to you, naturally, but...
Go ahead, George. Why this diffidence? Say what you like.
Very well, then I will. I'll give it to you straight. You know quite well that you have let your father bully you since you were in short frocks. I don't say it is your fault or his fault or anybody's fault. I just state it as fact. It's temperament, I suppose. You are yielding, and he is aggressive, and he has taken advantage of it. We now come to this idiotic Freddie marriage business. Your father has forced you into that. It's all very well to say that you are a free agent and fathers don't coerce their daughters nowadays. The trouble is that your father does. He has got you hypnotized, and you won't break away from this Freddie foolishness because you can't find the nerve. I'm going to help you find the nerve. I'm coming down to Blandings Castle when you go there on Friday.
Coming to Blandings?
Freddie invited me last night. I think it was done by way of interest on the money he owed me, but he did it and I accepted.
George, my dear boy, do you never read the etiquette books and the hints of the Sunday papers, how to be the perfect gentleman? Don't you know that you can't be a man's guest and take advantage of his hospitality to try to steal his fiancée from him?
Watch me.
I wonder what it feels like being a countess.
You will never know. My poor girl, have you been lured into this engagement in the belief that pop-eyed Frederick, the idiot child, is going to be an earl someday? You have been stung. Freddie is not the heir. His older brother, Lord Bosham, is as fit as a prize fighter and has 3 healthy sons. Freddie has about as much chance of getting the title as I have.
George, your education has been sadly neglected. Don't you know that the heir to the title always goes on a yachting cruise with his whole family and gets drowned, and the children too? Happens in every English novel you read.
Listen, Aline, let us get this thing straight. I have been in love with you since I wore knickerbockers. I proposed to you at your first dance.
Very clumsily.
But sincerely. Last year, when I found out that you had gone to England, I came on after you as soon as the firm could spare me, and I found you engaged to this Freddie excrescence.
I like the way you stand up for Freddie. So many men in your position might have horrid things to say about him.
Oh, I've nothing against Freddie. He is practically an imbecile, and I don't like his face. Outside of that, he's all right. But you will be glad later that you did not marry him. You are much too real a person. What a wife you will make for a hard-working man.
What does Freddie work hard at?
I am alluding at the moment not to Freddie, but to myself. I shall come home tired out. Maybe things will have gone wrong downtown. I shall be fagged, disheartened, and then you will come with your cool white hands and placing them gently on my forehead.
It's no good, George, really. You'd better realize it. I'm very fond of you, but we're not suited.
Why not?
You are too overwhelming, too much like a bomb. I think you must be one of the supermen one reads about. You would want your own way and nothing but your own way. Now, Freddie will roll through hoops and sham dead, and we shall be the happiest pair in the world. I am much too placid and mild to make you happy. You want someone who would stand up to you, someone like Joan Valentine.
That's the second time you've mentioned this Joan Valentine. Who is she?
She's a girl who went to school with me. We were the greatest chums. At least I worshipped her and would have done anything for her, and I think she liked me. Then we lost touch with one another and didn't meet for years. I met her on the street yesterday, and she's just the same. Just the most awful times. Her father was quite rich. He died suddenly while he and Joan were in Paris, and she found that he hadn't left a cent. He'd been living right up to his income all the time. His life wasn't even insured. She came to London, and so far as I could make out from the short talk we had, pretty nearly everything since we last met. She worked in a shop and went on the stage and all sorts of things. Isn't it awful, George?
Pretty tough.
She's so plucky and full of life. She would stand up to you.
Thanks. My idea of marriage is not a perpetual scrap. My notion of a wife is something cozy and sympathetic and soothing. That is why I love you. We shall be the happiest.
Dear old George, now pay the check and get me a taxi. I've endless things to do at home. If Freddie's in town, I suppose he'll be calling to see me. Who is Freddie, do you ask? Freddie's my fiancé, George, my betrothed, my steady, the young man that I'm going to marry.
Curious how you cling to that Freddie idea. Never mind. I'll come down to Blandings on Friday and we shall see what happens. Bear in mind the broad fact that you and I are going to be married and that nothing on earth is going to stop us.
Later that evening, it was Aline who had to bear the brunt of her father's mental agony when he discovered, shortly after Lord Emsworth had left him, that the gem of his collection of scarabs had done the same. It is always the innocent bystander who suffers.
The darned old sneak thief.
Father.
Don't sit there saying father. What's the use of saying father? Do you think it is going to help your saying father? I'd rather the old pirate had taken the house and lot than that scarab. He knows what's what. Trust him to walk off with the pick of the whole bunch. I did think I could leave the father of the man who's going to marry my daughter for a second alone with the things. There's no morality among collectors, none. I trust a syndicate of Jesse James, Captain Kidd, and Dick Turpin sooner than I would a collector. My Cheops of the Fourth Dynasty. I wouldn't have lost it for $50,000.
But Father, couldn't you write him a letter asking for it back? He's such a nice old man. I'm sure he didn't mean to steal the scarab.
Didn't mean to steal it? What do you think he meant to do? Take it away and keep it safe for me for fear I should lose it? Didn't mean to steal it. Bet you he's well known in society as a kleptomaniac. Bet you that when his name is announced, his friends pick up their spoons and send in a hurry call to police headquarters for a squad to come and see that he doesn't sneak the front door. Of course he meant to steal it. He has a museum of his own down in the country. My Cheops is going to lend tone to that. I'd give $50,000 to get it back. If there is a man in this country with the spirit to break into that castle and steal that scarab and hand it back to me, there's 50,000 waiting for him right here. And if he wants to, he can knock that old safe blower on the head with a jimmy into the bargain.
But Father, why can't you simply go to him and say that it's yours and you must have it back?
And have him come back at me by calling off this engagement of yours? Not if I know it. You can't go about the place charging men with theft and ask him to go on being willing to have his son marry your daughter, can you? The slightest suggestion that I thought he had stolen the scarab, and he would do the proud old English aristocrat and end everything. He's in the strongest position a thief has ever been in. You can't get at him.
I didn't think of that.
You don't think at all. That's the trouble with you.
At almost exactly the hour when Aline Peters set off to visit her friend, Miss Valentine, 3 men sat in the cozy smoking room of Blandings Castle. They were variously occupied. In the big chair nearest the door, the Honorable Frederick Threepwood, Freddie to pals, was reading. Next to him sat a young man whose eyes, glittering through rimless spectacles, were concentrated on the upturned faces of several neat rows of playing cards. Rupert Baxter, Lord Emsworth's invaluable secretary, had no vices, but he sometimes relaxed his busy brain with a game of solitaire. Beyond Baxter, a cigar in his mouth and a weak highball at his side, the Earl of Emsworth took his ease. The book the Honorable Freddie was reading was a small paper-covered book. Its cover was decorated with a color scheme in red, black, and yellow, depicting a tense moment in the lives of a man with a black beard, a man with a yellow beard, a man without any beard at all, and a young woman who at first sight appeared to be all eyes and hair. Beneath this picture were the words, "Hands up, you scoundrels." Above it, in a meandering scroll across the page, was Gridley Quayle, Investigator, The Adventures of the Secret Six, by Felix Clovelly.
Now, how in the world did that get here?
Lord Emsworth?
I have found a curious object in my pocket. Baxter, I was wondering how it got there.
Magnificent! Superb! It is a scarab, Lord Emsworth, and unless I am mistaken, and I think I may claim to be something of an expert, a Cheops of the Fourth Dynasty, a wonderful addition to your museum.
Is it? By Gad, you don't say so, Baxter.
It is indeed. If it's not a rude question, how much did you give for it, Lord Emsworth? It must have been the gem of somebody's collection. Was there a sale at Christie's this afternoon?
I did not get it at Christie's, for I recollect that I had an important engagement which prevented my going to Christie's. To be sure, yes, I had promised to call on Mr. Peters and examine his collection of. Now, I wonder what was it that Mr. Peters said he collected?
Mr. Peters is one of the best known living collectors of scarabs.
Scarabs! Oh, you are quite right, Baxter. Now that I recall the episode, this is a scarab, and Mr. Peters gave it to me.
Gave it to you, Lord Emsworth?
Yes, the whole scene comes back to me. Mr. Peters, after telling me a great many exceedingly interesting things about scarabs, which I regret to say I cannot remember, gave me this. And you say it is really valuable, Baxter?
It is, from a collector's point of view, of extraordinary value.
Bless my soul. This is extremely interesting, Baxter. One has heard so much of the princely hospitality of Americans. How exceedingly kind of Mr. Peters. I shall certainly treasure it, though I must confess that from a purely spectacular standpoint, it leaves me a little cold. However, I must not look a gift horse in the mouth, eh, Baxter? Time to dress for dinner? I had no idea it was so late. Baxter, you will be going past the museum door. Will you be a good fellow and place this among the exhibits? You will know what to do with it better than I. I always think of you as the curator of my little collection. Oh, Baxter, mind how you step when you are in the museum. I was painting a chair there yesterday, and I think I left the paint pot on the floor. Get up, Frederick, and go and dress for dinner. What is that trash you are reading?
Governor?
Make haste. Beach rang the gong 5 minutes ago. What is that you are reading?
Oh, nothing, Governor. Just a book.
I wonder you can waste your time on such trash. Make haste.
And now we return to across the street from our starting location, outside the residence of Joan Valentine, as Freddie's friend Dickie pours himself out of a cab.
Miss Valentine in?
Yes, sir.
All an important business, tell her. After a minute, I'll write it. If this is the sort of girl who would hold up Freddie's letters, she wouldn't be living in a place like this. If she were on the make, she would have more money than she evidently possesses. Therefore, she is not on the make, and I am prepared to bet that she has destroyed the letters as fast as she got them.
Sir?
Eh? First floor?
First floor front.
Miss Valentine?
Please come in.
Not much light on your stairs.
No. Will you take a seat?
Thanks.
You wish to see me on business?
Yes. Miss Valentine, may I begin by begging you to realize that I have no intention of insulting you?
I don't understand.
Let me explain. I've come here on a very distasteful errand to oblige a friend. Will you bear in mind that whatever I say is said entirely on his behalf? I came here at the request of the Honorable Frederick Threepwood.
I don't quite understand.
You never met him, Miss Valentine, but when you were in the chorus at the Piccadilly Theatre, I believe, he wrote you some very foolish letters. Possibly you have forgotten them?
I certainly have.
You have probably destroyed them, eh?
Certainly. I never keep letters. Why do you ask?
Oh, well, you see, Miss Valentine, the Honorable Frederick Threepwood is about to be married, and he thought that possibly, on the whole, it would be better that the letters and poetry which he wrote you were non-existent.
He was afraid I might try to blackmail him.
My dear Miss Valentine.
Please tell Mr. Threepwood to make his mind quite easy. He's in no danger.
Exactly, precisely. I assured Threepwood that my visit here would be a mere formality. I was quite sure that you had no intention whatsoever of worrying him. I may tell him definitely then that you have destroyed the letters.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, Miss Valentine.
The time had come for Mr. Jones' exit. He had almost reached the last step when there was a ring at the front door. With what he was afterward wont to call an inspiration, he retreated with unusual nimbleness until he had almost reached Joan's door again. Then he leaned over the banister and listened.
Is Miss Valentine in?
She's in, but she's engaged.
I wish you would go up and tell her that I would like to see her. Say it's Miss Aline Peters.
The banister shook beneath R. Jones's sudden clutch. For a moment, he felt almost faint. Then he began to think swiftly. A great light had dawned on him, and the thought outstanding in his mind was that never again would he trust a man or woman on the evidence of his senses. He could have sworn that this Valentine girl was on the level. He had been perfectly satisfied with her statement that she had destroyed the letters. And all the while she had been playing as deep a game as he had come across in the whole course of his professional career. He almost admired her, how she had taken him in. It was obvious now what her game was. Previous to his visit, she had arranged a meeting with Freddie's fiancée with the view of opening negotiations for the sale of the letters. She had held him, Jones, at arm's length because she was going to sell the letters to whoever would pay the best price. But for the accident of this happening to be here when Miss Peters arrives, Freddie and his fiancée would have been bidding against each other and raising each other's price. He had worked the same game himself a dozen times, and he resented the entry of female competition into what he regarded as essentially a male field of enterprise.
Oh, I thought there was a gentleman with you, miss.
He left a moment ago. Why?
Well, there's a lady wants to see you. Miss Peters, her name is.
Will you ask her to come up? Whatever brings you here, Aline?
Am I interrupting you, Joan dear?
No, do come in. I was only surprised to see you so late. I didn't know you paid calls at this hour. Is there anything wrong? Come in.
The door closed, the maid retired to the depths, and R. Jones stole cautiously down again. He was feeling absolutely bewildered. Apparently, his deductions, his second thoughts, had been all wrong. And Joan was, after all, the honest person he had imagined at first sight. Those two girls had talked to each other as though they were old friends, as though they had known each other all their lives. That was the thing which perplexed R. Jones. With a stealthy tread, he approached the door and put his ear to it. He found he could hear quite comfortably.
You're worried about something. Sit down and tell me all about it.
It's nothing at all, really. I think I've been making rather a fuss about very little.
Never mind. Tell me what the very little thing was.
It was only father.
Was he angry with you about something?
Not exactly angry with me, but, well, I was there.
What a shame. Tell me all about it.
He collects scarabs, has for years. It's really the only thing he cares about since he retired. And today, when Lord Emsworth was visiting, his favorite, a Cheops of the 4th dynasty, was missing. I believe that there's some misunderstanding, but Father insists Lord Emsworth pocketed it, stole it for some reason. Father is furious. He says he would give $50,000 to anyone who would get it back for him.
What? He wasn't serious, surely.
I think he was.
But $50,000.
It really isn't very much to Father, you know. He gave away $100,000 a year ago to a university.
But for a grubby little scarab?
You don't understand how much Father loves his scarabs. Since he retired from business, he's been simply wrapped up in them. You know, collectors are like that. You read in the papers about men giving all sorts of money for funny things.
Outside the door, R. Jones, his ear close to the panel, drank in all these things greedily. He would have been willing to remain in that attitude indefinitely in return for this kind of special information. But just as Aline said these words, a door opened on the floor above.
Bloody hell.
Then you mean to say that your father would really give $50,000 to anyone who got this thing back for him?
I'm sure he would, but who could do it?
I could. And what is more, I'm going to.
But Joan...
My dear child, it's perfectly simple. This Earl of yours has taken the thing off to his castle, like a brigand. You say you're going down there on Friday for a visit. All you have to do is take me along with you and sit back and watch me get busy.
But, Joan...
Where's the difficulty?
I don't see how I could take you down very well.
Why not?
Oh, I don't know.
But what is your objection?
Well, don't you see? If you went down there as a friend of mine and were caught stealing the scarab, there would be just the trouble Father wants to avoid about my engagement and so on.
I see. Yes, there is that. But there must be a way.
You mustn't, Joan, really. Don't think any more about it.
Not think any more about it? My child, do you even faintly realize what $50,000 or a quarter of $50,000 means to me? I would do anything for it. Anything. And there's the fun of it. I don't suppose you can realize that either. I want a change. I've been grubbing away here on nothing a week for years, and it's time I had a vacation. There must be a way by which you could get me down. Why? Of course. Why didn't I think of it before? You shall take me on Friday as your lady's maid.
But Joan, I couldn't.
Why not?
I couldn't.
Why not?
Oh, well...
Aline, my pet, it's no good arguing. You might just as well argue with a wolf on the trail of a fat Russian peasant. I need that money. I need it in my business. I need it worse than anybody has ever needed anything. And I'm going to have it. From now on, until further notice, I am your lady's maid. You can give your present one a holiday.
But Joan, you know, it's simply ridiculous. You could never pass as a lady's maid. The other servants would find you out. I expect there are all sorts of things a lady's maid has got to do and not do.
My dear Aline, I know them all. You can't stop me on below-stairs etiquette. I've been a lady's maid.
Joan.
It's quite true. 3 years ago, when I was more than usually impecunious, the wolf was glued to the door like a postage stamp. So I answered an advertisement and became a lady's maid.
You seem to have done everything.
I have, pretty nearly. It's all right for you, either rich, Aline. You can sit still and contemplate life. But we poor working girls have got to hustle.
You know, you could always make me do anything you wanted back in the old days, Joan. I suppose I've got to look on this as quite settled now?
Absolutely settled. Oh, Aline, there's one thing you must remember. Don't call me Joan when I'm down at the castle. You must call me Valentine. No, not Valentine. It's too jaunty. I used it once years ago, but it never sounded just right. I want something more respectable, more suited to my position. Can't you suggest something?
Simpson?
Simpson! It's exactly right. You must practice it. Simpson. Say it kindly and yet distantly, as though I were a worm, but a worm for whom you felt a mild liking. Roll it round your tongue.
Simpson.
Splendid. Now once again, a little more haughtily.
Simpson. Simpson. Simpson.
It's wonderful. You might have been doing it all your life.
What are you laughing at?
Oh, nothing. I was just thinking of something. There is a young man who lives on the floor above this, and I was lecturing him yesterday on enterprise. I told him to go and find something exciting to do. I wonder what he would say if he knew how thoroughly I am going to practice what I preach.
In the morning, following Aline's visit to Joan Valentine, Ashe sat in his room, the Morning Post on the table before him. The heady influence of Joan had not yet ceased to work within him, and he proposed, in pursuance of his promise to her, to go carefully through the columns of advertisements, however pessimistic he might feel concerning the utility of that action. Ashe was reading listlessly down the column when, from the mass of advertisements, one of an unusual sort detached itself. Wanted, young man of good appearance, who is poor and reckless, to undertake a delicate and dangerous enterprise. Good pay for the right man. Apply between the hours of 10 and 12 at offices of Mainprice, and Boole, 3 Denvers Street, Strand. He was conscious of strange thrills. This, he told himself, was the only possible mode of life with spring in the air. He had always been partial to those historical novels in which the characters are perpetually vaulting on chargers and riding across country on perilous errands. This leaping into taxicabs to answer stimulating advertisements in the Morning Post was very much the same sort of thing. It was with fine fervor animating him that he entered the gloomy offices of Mainprice, and Boole. His brain was afire, and he felt ready for anything.
I have come an end.
Sit down. Gotta take your turn.
The wanted column of the morning paper is a sort of dredger, which churns up strange creatures from the mud of London's underworld. Only in response to the dredger's operations do they come to the surface in such numbers as to be noticeable, for as a rule they are of a solitary habit and shun company. But when they do come, they bring with them something of the horror of the depths. Scarcely had one scarred victim of London's unkindness passed through before the bell would ring. The office boy, who in the intervals of frowning sternly at the throng, as much as to say that he would stand no nonsense, would cry, "Next!" and another dull-eyed wreck would drift through, to be followed a moment later by yet another.
Next.
And Ashe, the only survivor left, followed the boy.
Well, what do you want?
I came in answer to.
In answer to my advertisement? I had given up hope of seeing anything port human. I thought you must be one of the clerks. You're certainly more like what I advertised for. Of all the seedy bunches of deadbeats I ever struck, the aggregation I've just been interviewing was the seediest. When I spend good money in advertising for a young man of good appearance, I want a young man of good appearance, not a tramp of 55. I'm through. I've had enough of interviewing applicants. You're the last one I'll see. Are there any more hobos outside?
Not when I came in.
Then we'll get down to business. I'll tell you what I want done, and if you're willing, you can do it. If you are not willing, you can leave it and go to the devil. Sit down. So far as appearance goes, you're what I want. Whoever takes on this job has got to act as my valet, and you look like a valet. You're tall and thin and ordinary looking. Yeah, so far as appearance goes, you fill the bill.
I'm afraid if all you want is a valet, you will have to look elsewhere. I got the idea from your advertisement that something rather more exciting was in the air. I can recommend you to several good employment agencies if you wish. Morning.
Sit down! Don't be a damned fool. Of course I'm not asking you to be a valet and nothing else.
You would want me to do some cooking and plain sewing on the side, perhaps?
Are you trying to get fresh with me?
Yes.
Well, maybe it's all for the best. If you weren't full of gall, probably you wouldn't have come here at all. And whoever takes on this job of mine has got to have gall if he has nothing else. I think we will suit each other.
What is the job?
It's awkward. If I'm to make the thing clear to you, I've got to trust you. And I don't know a thing about you. I wish I had thought of that before I inserted the advertisement.
Couldn't you make an A-B case out of it?
Maybe I could if I knew what an A-B case was.
All the people mixed up in it, A and B.
And forget halfway through who was which? No, I guess I'll have to trust you.
I'll play square, clean as an uninked page.
Eh?
My soul. And this heart is solid gold. You may fire when ready, Gridley. Proceed, Professor.
I don't know where to begin.
Without presuming to dictate, why not at the beginning?
It's all so darn complicated that I don't rightly know which is the beginning. Well, see here. I collect scarabs. I'm crazy about scarabs. Ever since I quit business, you might say that I have practically lived for scarabs.
It sounds like an unkind thing to say of anyone. Incidentally, what are scarabs? Wait, it all comes back to me. Expensive classical education now bearing belated fruit. Scarabaeus, Latin, noun, nominative, a beetle. Scarabaei, vocative, oh you beetle. Scarabaeum, accusative, the beetle. Scarabaei, of the beetle. Scarabaeo, to or for the beetle. I remember now. Egypt, Ramesses, pyramids, sacred scarabs, right.
Well, I guess I've gotten together the best collection of scarabs outside the British Museum, and some of them are worth what you like to me. I don't reckon money when it comes to a question of my scarabs. Do you understand?
Sure, Mike.
My name is not Mike.
I use the word figuratively, as it were.
Well, don't do it again. My name is J. Preston Peters, and Mr. Peters will do as well as anything else when you want to attract my attention.
Mine is Marston. As you were saying, Mr. Peters?
Well, it's this way.
As Shakespeare and Pope have both emphasized the tediousness of a twice-told tale. The episode of the stolen scarab need not be repeated at this point, though it must be admitted that Mr. Peters' version of the incident differed considerably from the calm, dispassionate description the author, in his capacity of official historian, has given earlier in the story. In Mr. Peters' version, the Earl of Emsworth appeared as a smooth and purposeful robber, a sort of elderly Raffles, worming his way into the homes of the innocent and only sparing that portion of their property which was too heavy for him to carry away. Mr. Peters, indeed, specifically described the Earl of Emsworth as an oily old second-story man.
You want to hire somebody to go to this castle and get the scarab back for you? I follow that. But why must he go as your valet?
That's simple enough. You don't think I'm asking him to buy a black mask and break in, do you? I'm making it as easy for him as possible. I can't take a secretary down to the castle, for everybody knows that now I've retired, I haven't got a secretary. And if I engaged a new one and he was caught trying to steal my scarab from the Earl's collection, it would look suspicious. But a valet is different. Anyone can get fooled by a crook valet with bogus references.
I see. There's just one other point. Suppose your accomplice does get caught. What then?
That is the catch. And it's just because of that I'm offering good pay to my men. We'll suppose, for the sake of argument, that you accept the contract and get caught. Well, if that happens, you've got to look after yourself. I couldn't say a word. If I did, it would all come out. And so far as the breaking off of my daughter's engagement to young Threepwood is concerned, it would be just as bad as though I had tried to get the thing back myself. You've got to bear that in mind. You've got to remember, You've got to remember it if you forget everything else. I don't appear in this business in any way whatsoever. If you get caught, you take what's coming to you without a word. You can't turn around and say, I am innocent. Mr. Peters will explain all, because Mr. Peters certainly won't. Mr. Peters won't utter a syllable of protest if they want to hang you. No, if you go into this, young man, you go into it with your eyes open. You go into it with a full understanding of the risks, because you think the reward, if you are successful, makes the taking of those risks worthwhile. You and I know that what you are doing isn't really stealing. It's simply a tactful way of getting back my own property. But the judge and jury will have different views.
I'm beginning to understand why you called the job delicate and dangerous.
It is, and that is why I'm offering good pay. Whoever carries this job through gets $50,000.
$50,000?
$50,000.
When do I begin?
You'll do it?
For $50,000, I certainly will.
With your eyes open?
Wide open.
Good boy. Meet me at Paddington Station at 4 o'clock on Friday. And if there's anything more you want to know, come round to this address.
There remained the telling of Joan Valentine, for it was obviously impossible not to tell her. When you have revolutionized your life at the bidding of another, you cannot well conceal the fact as though nothing had happened. Ashe had not the slightest desire to conceal the fact. On the contrary, he was glad to have such a capital excuse for renewing the acquaintance. He could not tell her, of course, the secret details of the thing. Naturally, those must remain hidden. No, he would just go airily in and say, you know what you told me about doing something new? Well, I've just got a job as a valet.
Well, I've just got a job as a valet.
To whom?
To a man named Peters, an American.
Not Mr. J. Preston Peters?
Yes. Do you know him? What a remarkable thing.
His daughter has just engaged me as a lady's maid.
What?
It will not be quite the same thing as 3 years ago. It's just a cheap way of getting a holiday. I used to know Miss Peters very well, you see. It will be more like traveling as her guest.
But...
Yes.
But what an extraordinary coincidence.
Yes. By the way, how did you get the situation? And what put it into your head to be a valet at all? It seems such a curious thing for you to think of doing.
Well, you see, the experience will be useful to me, of course, in my writing.
Oh, are you thinking of taking up my line of work? Jukes?
No, not exactly that.
It seems so odd. How did you happen to get in touch with Mr. Peters?
Oh, I answered an advertisement.
I see.
It will be nice being together.
Very.
I thought I would come and tell you.
Quite so.
It seems so funny that you should be going out as a lady's maid.
Yes?
But, of course, you've done it before.
Yes?
The really extraordinary thing is that we should be going to the same people.
Yes.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Yes.
Goodbye for the present.
Goodbye.
Ashe drifted out. He was conscious of a wish that he understood girls. Girls, in his opinion, were odd. When he had gone, Joan Valentine hurried to the door, and having opened it an inch, stood listening. When the sound of his door closing came to her, she ran down the stairs and out into Arundel Street. She went to the Hotel Mathis.
I wonder if you have a copy of the Morning Post?
It did not take her long to discover the advertisement that had sent Ashe hurrying in a taxicab to the offices of Messrs. Mainprice, and Boole. She had been looking for something of the kind. She read it through twice and smiled. Everything was very clear to her. She looked at the ceiling above her head and shook her head.
You are quite a nice young man, Mr. Marsden, but you mustn't try to jump my claim. I dare say you need that money too. But I'm afraid you must go without. I'm going to have it, and nobody else.
What does Blandings Castle have in store for our intrepid adventurers? Come back next week and see, or hear. Okay, stop.